So I just had a thought. I'm on my way home from the gym, home back to my parents' house from the gym, and I know it's dark and I know you can't see me, but this is what we've got to work with, okay guys? At least you can hear me, right? Maybe, perhaps, we'll see. So the reason I am coming on here today is because I just had a thought, and you know I like to share my thoughts. I was thinking, just sort of everything sort of came together. It's not like I was thinking like, let's start with the thought and work backwards. Okay, so my thought was that I am the most special person to one person, and that person is me. Let me explain that now. I have often in the past been upset that there was no one for whom I was the most important person for. You know, like there's always been one more person who's just important enough that I lose someone. You know, just not even that I lose someone, but just like, you know, just important enough that they're more important than me. And I really want to be important to someone. Like I really, really do. I know that, and that's an ego thing. I get that. That is quite obviously an ego thing. But it is also what I'm dealing with. And the more I can separate myself from that and the more I can observe that, the more present that makes me, and I am present. Okay. So I've often had that thought where like, I just want to be the most important person to one person. Like if this is another one. My thought is, if I'm going to make someone the most important person to me, I want them to make me the most important person. If that makes any sense. Like, you know, it's not, I don't want to make them. It's like, if someone is the most important person in my life, I want to be that person's most important person. Right? And this is not a thought I was thinking at the moment, but like it was something that I thought a lot in the background in my brain. And then so that was in the back in my brain. And then I was coming out from the gym thinking about, how did that happen? I was watching X-Men as I was on the treadmill, because that's what I do. That's my thing now, is I put on a movie and I walk on the treadmill for 2 hours. And I'm happy doing that, quite frankly. I don't care. You know, at least it gets me to the gym. It gets me to the gym every day, every other day, something like that. Anyway, that was a complete divergence from the topic at hand. The topic at hand is, so I was just thinking how, you know, ego-wise, we are all the most important person. Like, I don't really know how I can't remember how the thought train went that got me there, but it was like maybe like kind of a thought train collision more of one of those. But the thought was like, I'm not gonna be the most important person to someone else, because we are all the most important persons to ourselves. And like that's what, okay, so this is okay, I'm remembering. So of course that just distracted me and then I've forgotten. So come on, Brian. So I was coming out of the gym thinking about how the most important person in our lives, how we've got egos, and how, yeah, I mean, I don't know how I just had it in my mind a second ago, and it was an interesting observation that I was hoping to record, but maybe it'll come back. Point is, my thought was, we are the most important person to ourselves. Okay, hang on, I got it. So I was feeling a lot of emotions, because that's what I do, and I kind of thought, like, because I was watching the movie, and I was like, you know, when I'm watching movies, you know, it occurred to me that like my life is, I have a lot of emotions. They're there, and we all do, but mine are particularly close to the surface, and I feel them rather intensely. Not that I know what anybody else's experience of emotion actually is, but from my observations in life, yeah, mine are pretty close to the surface, and I don't have as much control over them. I seem to be deeply swayed by them. But everybody is, so whatever. Anyway, point being, that I was kind of like thinking about that and thinking about how when I'm watching a movie, not only am I like putting myself in that person's place, and then I could come out of the movie feeling like that's the world that I inhabit, but it's not, even though it's back to reality. Still, I'm thinking I'm in the X-Men's world, but that's cool. Because that's more exciting, right? No, it's not. The present moment is what's the best. Okay. So, and I was just thinking, so I'm also thinking about like, oh, how would I have done that as an actor? Like I can inhabit both these things at the same time. So, you know, I'm also playing along with it in my, I'm pretty much putting myself in that person's place, both as a person in the story and as the actor. And anyway, so my thought was like, God, I'm just put on this earth to emote. That's like my thing. That's like my purpose here is to emote. Which is something that has actually come up in the past with friends of mine when we've been talking about our, you know, stuff, our deep stuff. And that, you know, I have a particular vulnerability that I'm comfortable with because I've had to become comfortable with it because there's not really a choice about it. For me, I say that, they're like, oh no, there is a choice. I was like, yeah, no, it's not. There's not a choice. But, you know, there's a certain amount of vulnerability that I am comfortable with being vulnerable in front of people because I just don't have the option. I really don't. So I've had to become comfortable with that. And so that means like I'm comfortable showing emotion, more comfortable showing emotion than most people. And that is fine. But so that was one of the things that I had been talking about with some friends of mine, was that like one of my particular purposes is, I mean, because I'm like that, I'm able to put most people at ease, because if I'm willing to be open and vulnerable with them, that makes them feel comfortable to be open and vulnerable with me. And so sort of the idea there is like, perhaps we're back. But let's be honest, right? Like, I mean, we are mainly concerned about ourselves. It's the nature of the creature that we are, you know, and that's when the thought occurred to me is like, you know, I am the most important person to someone. That person just happens to be me. And how I had realized that like that had never been good enough for me, because I didn't respect myself enough to feel like that was important or feel like that was worth anything. You know, it's always been like, I want to be important to someone I want to be important to someone who is important to me. And I apparently am not that important to myself, even though every single thought I have is about myself. But that's fine. It's we're interesting, complex creatures, we are. So I was just having this thought and kind of thinking about it, and obviously if I have a thought, I'm thinking about it. But, can I finish a thought? So yeah, no, just that I think that that's something that, I mean, it's something I'm always talking about. I'm always constantly saying, oh, and this is another reason I have to work on self-esteem. But, you know, I am the most important person to me. And I have to think that I have to also put myself in that position of the person that it's like this, there's always a duality, right? So let's put this outside of me. Let's say there's a person let's say there's a person who's the most important person to me, and then vice versa, that person's the most important person to me, or for me, or to them. Sorry, the thought is coming quicker than the mouth can speak it. So there's a duality there, and it's always been me respecting that person and other person more. So bringing that all together, the idea here is that me being the most important person to me, I have to respect myself the way I would respect the person outside of me, if that makes any sense. Like, if there's someone like a boyfriend that I love and who is the most important person for me, and then I was the most important person for him, that's actually what's happening, but it's just all me. And I need to feel about myself the way I feel about that other external me. If that makes any sense. Like, I have to internalize that external me. I hope that makes sense. That's sort of what I'm thinking. Anyway, the end of that thought is here. And I am also at my house, or my parents' house. So, I am going to say I am grateful for the ability to have this car and the place that I have to sleep, and the fact that I have stuff to eat, and the fact I could go to the gym, and then I have something that I can just watch a movie on as I'm just walking on the treadmill. I'm grateful for all of that. And I'm grateful for my self-discovery. And I'm just going to remind you guys as I pull into the garage that you can always choose to have a grateful night.